called Chunty.
Hello again. Oh look, I just hit record and there's helicopters flying overhead. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm just going to keep this an easy one today. Been pretty damn busy just doing life things as I change the light on that. I've just literally come home from the cinemas and wanted to jump on here and quickly just talk about a few things. So just bear with me on this one. I know half of you have probably clicked off already. Oh, he's not ready. He's not prepared to do this right. Why do I tune in when he just can't be bothered? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, get over yourself. Anyway, so today, 3 topics. We're going to blast through them, and I've got an Ask Chunt question at the end from viewer-submitted questions. So we got Xbox handheld console was confirmed from years ago. Got some details on that. And should games be valued at cost per hour? That came from a review about the Medium that recently released, and I'll talk about that as well. And then finally, Zack Snyder's Justice League released 3 massive posters, and we'll have a look at those as well, and why Warner Brothers Pictures didn't support that when everyone else did. Very unusual and telling from behind the scenes. Not much else to do with the preamble stuff, but oh crap, that's right. I was going to do a trailer thingy. Let me see if I can just jump it straight up while I ramble on as to why I want to bring this up. So I went to the movies today and I saw a movie called Occupation Rainfall. It's an Aussie film made by Aussies, Aussie effects studios, Aussie actors, and it's unusual. You don't see that kind of stuff happening these days. Unfortunately, it got released, what's it called? Occupation Rainfall trailer 2020. It got released at the worst time, a couple days before Australia Day, and there's some political shit happening here about Invasion Day and all this kind of stuff, and they use that in the marketing, the term Invasion Day. So let me just turn down my speakers so you don't hear it, and we'll watch it. We'll flick over to this because I want to just briefly talk about it if no one else has really heard about it. Official trailer. It was excellent. By the way, before we go further. Cool, that's coming up.
What I'm about to show you has only been known to a handful of people. Even less have ever seen this. This is Project Rainfall.
Sydney's lost, we're surrounded, and we're suffering unsustainable casualties.
There's something else. Over the past few weeks, I've encountered sources that all speak of some event. Rainfall.
Find out what this rainfall thing is, fall back to me.
I will go too.
I've seen you fight. You're keeping something from me.
I am a soldier, Matthew. Just like you.
What are they doing? Preparing for war, eh? It's their technology integrated with ours. It's a beautiful
It's
thing.
one of the biggest Aussie movies ever made.
I've hidden from this war long enough. I'm going to make sure you complete your mission.
You are surrounded. You cannot win.
Oh, that's not good.
Here we go!
As a species, I'm with you. It's not all the times that we fall, but that we rise again. Every single time.
Incoming guidance!
What else you got?
Yeah, that was awesome. That scene. Very, very cool.
Call him as you see him.
huge, man. Thoroughly enjoyed that film. I'll just let it on repeat there for a bit of visual while I just ramble on it a bit. Yeah, look, I've heard about this movie ages ago. There's a sequel. There's a prequel to this, just called The Occupation. I saw that on Netflix, I think it was on, and it was on every other streaming service. I think it had a very limited cinema run when it first came out. It's a very small movie, much smaller than this. Like, this one was ambitious as hell in comparison. Massive. Just, I couldn't believe it, because I went going in, you know, honestly, I went going in with a very low expectation on, just because I'm used to Aussie movies not having the biggest budgets and not having the biggest scope. You know, they're most usually just dramas, you know, they're a bit more affordable to make, or art house films. So to see a big budget, and I say big budget, where I heard or I read online as well that it only had a $25 million budget, which I was amazed by. If that is true, if anyone knows better, correct me, but if that is true, what they did with 25 million was just insane. Like, it puts Avengers to shame as far as the visual effects, like the same kind of shit that you'll see on screen, you know, big battles and everything like that. It's just crazy. And just the flip side of that is to see Australia done this way, where we're so used to watching Americans do all this kind of stuff all the time. You know, and seeing America get attacked, or seeing America be in the front line, or, you know, we're so used to seeing Americans in our movies. And it took me about a good 10-15 minutes to kind of change my ears. It's weird. I don't know if there's other Aussies out there like that, but at least for me, when I go watching a movie in a cinema that's an Australian movie, or just even on Netflix or something, I have this association to movies as American, and I'm used to hearing American accents, and particularly in these big movies. So it's a good 10-20 minutes, 10 between 15, whatever, it doesn't really matter, it's irrelevant. But I had to get used to seeing what I'm seeing, and with the situations that are happening and the action set pieces and the story being told by American voices, American Aussie voices. Very bizarre. I totally forgot that I had that feeling, because it's been ages since I've seen a good Aussie movie like this, you know, this kind of scope. So, but once I settled in and you start getting used to our speak, like how we talk, and the flow of conversation is totally different. The tone is totally different. Like, inflections are totally different. What you expect going into American movies is pretty standard now. Like, you know what you're going to expect. You know how people overact, or conversations are just, you know, done for show and tone. But with this and most Aussie films, it's very natural feeling. You know, if the script lends to it, that is. I've seen a few other Aussie flicks that are trying to do the American blockbuster, but it comes off real just, nah, that's not us. That's not how we talk, you know. You get lost and taken off it because it doesn't sound like us, but this sounds like us. And I found that very interesting. And if there's any American people that watch this, my channel, whatever, see if you can find a way to watch this. I do recommend you seeing it. I saw it in the movies in Event Cinemas VMAX, and I'm so glad I did. Like, it was very excellent. Excellent. For that budget, and Aussie films in general. Like, we got a lot of movies made here, and we've got a lot of talent here, but we don't really have our own film industry. Like, we do, but it's not anywhere near like Hollywood or anything like that. So when something like this happens, I'm always disappointed when Australians don't go out to support it. Like, we don't also have the population either to support much, like, in this kind of thing. Like, you can release a movie in America with 330 million people and you're going to make some money, but here you've got 27 or something million people, and not much takes off. You know, it's hard to kind of make it here in that regard, you know, when you're doing the comparisons. So I hope this finds legs. The prequel found some legs on Netflix and was doing some great numbers, you know, was hitting in the top 5 or something like that when it came out. And I was so glad to see that. There's something about this team they've done a bunch of movies together. I supported another one of their films, Red Billabong. I tried to get that played in our local cinema in Rockhampton when I used to live there, and I joined like this organization with them to get media packs and organize actors to actually come to the cinema and do an interview. And I got on the radio. I got support from radio to support it and try and plug it a bit. And they thought it was a bit far-fetched as well until I started talking to them, because I mean, I knew them, a couple of the guys at the radio station, and they were aware of me, but they weren't really too sure about this. And I had to really kind of explain it to him. I had like a lunch or after work lunch kind of thing with him. I met him at a pub and was like, look, I think this is worth talking about, blah, blah. Anyway, and I had to get people to pre-buy tickets. So it was very, very difficult. Didn't happen. I was like 10 tickets off. Otherwise, it would have been a great little thing for the town. And Rockhampton's just notoriously bad for that shit anyway. I had very high hopes. It was like the last big thing I wanted to do in that town before I left, and I wanted to make a mark. One last thing of going, yes, bring some culture to the town, so to speak. And it would have been a very, very good evening, but of course that place doesn't support anything. But it's just I use that example as it's just that and expand it. That's how Australia is. Like, for some reason, when we knuckle down, we get shit done, but otherwise we just don't really support ourselves, and it frustrates the shit out of me. So I'm glad this even happened in the way that it has happened. And it ends saying part 1. So I was completely unaware that there was supposed to be a part 2. So I hope that happens. We'll see. Like, I think they might have to be counting on ticket sales. I don't know how this factors in, or if post cinema release, if they need some traction there as well on Netflix or whatever. But God, I want to see part 2. If it's going to be as big and as good as that, holy shit, like the stuff you can do today, which is probably why the budget is so low, because you see other YouTube channels that are just people on their own steam doing stuff that are like high level stuff just on their own, like one-man bands or a small group of 5 people or something doing real industry level shit. So the amount of stuff you can get away with or doing in your own personal computer or your own home network, maybe that's why. Maybe they have a bunch of talented people that are just doing it as a labor of love and use the budget elsewhere. I don't know, but I'm very, very impressed. Find a way to watch it. I don't want to spoil too much about it. Some of it feels very Mass Effect-y, but like Mass Effect Invasion kind of. The prequel ends kind of leading into this, but there's a space of time between, I don't know, a couple of years or something from what I gathered. It has the amount of days at the start of the movie of like post invasion day, so many days. I can't remember what that number is. But just awesome. Go see it. I don't want to ramble on it too much. I just thought I'd highlight it at the top of the show as I just remembered it. This wasn't actually part of my structure for the show today, so if it's going to be a bit rambly and out of order today, that's why. I'll probably forget about something I want to mention about this movie when I move on and when I think about it later tonight, but I think I've done my piece there anyway. So yep, supporting Aussie, like I said in the last couple of shows, like I'm trying to really look at things that are happening in the Australian space, whether it's artists or musicians or other things, like something I'll be able to talk about very soon. The VR comedy club that I know a mate who's running one from Perth in Australia, and I'll be doing some cross promotion with them coming out very soon. So that's exciting. I joined into one of their comedy clubs yesterday actually, and that was a lot of fun, all through VR. I don't have a VR headset, but I did it just on my Windows PC and had a good fun. So yeah, I'll be able to talk about that in more detail once I get more information and start doing the promo stuff for that. But yeah, just to keep going on this thing about Xbox stuff, I'm wearing the Xbox hat, and this happened a few days ago. An article from Games Radar came out, and I don't know if you remember conversations happening online for years about people wanting an X-Boy or an Xbox handheld. Now we do have an actual solution for it. Just happen to have one here handy that I prepared earlier. But that design mock-up and how it's been called X-Boy, I think somebody knows something about that. The interview that I'm about to detail to you, they specifically name the code name for the project was actually X-Boy. But these days we have this. Like, this is the official Xbox by Razer Kishi controller clamp thing. You just put whatever phone you have into it. I've been playing a lot of games like this, and I am thoroughly excited still that this exists. And yeah, it really does work. Cloud streaming or even just remote play, I love it. I played a whole of Yakuza 0, mostly handheld, surprisingly, just in my bed or whatever. So it's great, and I've been a massive supporter in the past of wanting something like this, like a legit dedicated Xbox handheld. But you always get those gimped experiences, like PSP. The games were gimped, like the graphics weren't too great, controls weren't too good. It only had one analog stick. PS Vita, I've actually been looking into PS Vita a lot lately. A lot. I just want one for some reason. I remember I've played one before, and even when they had pre-release console versions on the show floor in shops and whatnot, it felt great. It felt like a really good bit of kit. The screen was amazing, and some of the games on it are pretty rad. I've actually been looking into some of the games that are on there, and I'm like, damn, like, that'd be pretty fun to play in a handheld space. So it's in the back of my mind. I might pick that up, along with, I'm trying to get another PS3 because I want to go back and grab some games for that I missed out on, or like God of War basically, and Heavenly Sword and Killzone and stuff. I want to go back and play those again, and Infamous. Anyway, rambling on. So this was actually a legit thing. The Xbox handheld got brought up like 3 times in post Xbox boss leadership. People kept coming forward saying, hey, we've got this idea, do you want to do this, rah rah. So I have a quote that I will touch on in a moment, but just to briefly summarize this Games Radar article, it says here, Xbox handheld console ideas were turned down multiple times within Microsoft, and a former Xbox boss has revealed why. In an interview of the New York Game Awards earlier this week, so this article came out 3 days ago, within the New York Game Awards earlier this week, former Xbox boss Robbie Bach, I think it's pronounced B-A-C-H, Bach, revealed that there were 3 internal pitches for a portable Xbox device, all of which referred to the handheld console as the X-Boy, which is why I'm saying it was passed around the internet, that name, for ages, and I think someone kind of leaked it out there just to see, what would happen, what would the traction be. Like, obviously these people have put it forward a few times, and like, we want to get some consumer feedback out there, even though we can't tell anybody. Anyway, so Bach revealed that he personally turned down all 3 pitches because Xbox simply didn't have the bandwidth to support such an ambitious project, which is kind of true. Before this generation now, and even to a lesser extent Xbox One generation, the Xbox partition, if you were, of Microsoft wasn't that big as it is now. Like, they did kind of believe in it, but way back to the original Xbox, they basically went in because Nintendo didn't want to play games, which is the same as what happened to Sony. Sony and Nintendo disagreed to make a console, so Sony went and made their own. Microsoft went to Nintendo because they wanted to jump into the game industry, and they got laughed out of the room. So Bill Gates was like, well, damn, screw this, let's make it happen, we'll build our own, and that's how it's happened. So, but it was never like a big factor in Microsoft's plan. So when he says the bandwidth, which is probably their games as well, but finances was probably a bigger thing, and just support, they probably just didn't have it to put out something like this. I agree to that, if that's what he means. I don't think it would have succeeded if they did it. Would I have wanted one? Hell yeah, and I still do. Even though I've got the Razer Kishi, I still would love a dedicated handheld like the Vita for Xbox. You can still do your cloud streaming to it or your remote play to it, but even like just games that can scale down and play on a handheld, man, I'd love the hell out of that. I really, really, really would. Anyway, so yeah, Xbox simply didn't have the bandwidth to support such an ambitious project, if I can get it out. So this is a quote from him directly. Robbie Bach, former Xbox boss. During my time at Xbox, there were at least 3 groups that presented portable Xbox presentations. Sorry, got 2 in my mouth. Totally unprofessional today. The former Xbox boss said, they always got called X-Boy for some reason. Would have been a trademark problem, I'm sure. All 3 times we decided not to do it. Yeah, I mean, they could have had a better name for it. They still don't have a legit name for what they're doing, besides Xbox Game Pass, which has got the all-encompassing streaming service ability. And now it's just, remote play, which is standard. There's nothing official. X-Boy would have been dumb. I would not have loved it to be called that. Like Xbox Mini or something, or I don't know, Xbox Portal, Xbox P. I don't know how they get away with it. And they got too many letters now, people would say, with X and S. So who knows? But it's very interesting to hear that actually confirmed now. Like, this is the first time I've heard. This is why I wanted to bring this up today. This is the first time this week that I've actually heard it actually confirmed. There's always been rumors and speculations, and I've probably missed the boat on when it was confirmed earlier. But this week I was like, damn, it's great to know that it was actually going to be a thing, and I still have hopes that it might, because Xbox's bandwidth, they say, is so vastly bigger than it was. Like you'll see in Let's Talk Games podcast that should be out today at some point. We do touch on this a little bit going through their Microsoft earning report that they announced and released details for. So Microsoft profits on their gaming division, they made the budget that they paid for Bethesda twice just in the 1 quarter on their profits. So that was like $7.5 billion just for Bethesda, I think it was, or 4.5. Can't remember the exact number, but regardless, it's a stupid amount of money that I'll never see in my life, let alone can actually imagine what it looks like. So if you factor that in now, where they've got, all right, we've got this spare cash lying around, and Microsoft itself as a company generated $43 billion in the quarter. So there's money there. There's room to move. And I would support this if they came out going, all right, let's give it a go. I would buy one. I really, really would. But yeah, so despite Buck turning down all 3 initial pitches, the project just wouldn't go away. The former boss revealed that time and time over his 9 years at Xbox, he would repeatedly turn down suggestions and pitches for a portable Xbox device, saying that they just would not die. We want it. We want it. We still do. In fact, current Xbox Phil Spencer revealed the company actually prototyped a portable Xbox console at a particular point prior to 2017. There's a prototype, They were doing it. They were looking at it. Oh my God, I want it. In an interview with Gamer Sutra, the current Xbox boss, say that 5 times, revealed that Microsoft had roughly designed a handheld device in the past. Nothing ever came from the design, obviously. And Xbox has since ventured into handheld gaming by way of streaming through Xbox Game Pass. Through your mobile devices like this, which launched last year for Android devices with over 150 games at launch, blah, 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 blah. So we have an option, a method, which is probably more open-ended and accessible and less cost risk to them in the grand scheme of things, because it's not, this actual thing is a Razer product. It's not an Xbox or Microsoft product. It's just licensed by Xbox. So even less risk when you put it in the hands of third parties to make the stuff that you want people to use. Saying that, do it. Make one happen. That's just a mock-up. I don't like that and I don't want that, but make one happen. Even if it has to look like, a matte black finish, similar to the Series X, like far out, with the green vents kind of thing, the holes and stuff. Don't go too overboard with the holes thing, because holes make me creep out. But god damn it, I would buy one. Let me know in the comments below, would you want one? Does it excite you at all, the thought that they were actually prototyping one where we could have had one? This is around the era, towards the latter end of Vita, I think. Between mid console, PS4, Xbox One kind of life cycle ish. And the Vita was kind of still around, pitter-pottering around with PS4 compatibility. We could have had an Xbox One as well, far out. what could have been and what still may be. I still want one, and I'm going to hold out hope until they just say, no, we're never going to do one. They're already dipping their toe. You know, how many people are using these? You know, how many people can they know that are using the Xbox app to play games remotely, or the Xbox Game Pass app to play streaming to the phone? Like, if they can find out, all right, we do have people in the market that are using it. Maybe if we just give them our own dedicated, optimized piece of hardware. Ooh, god damn. I want one. Oh, man. And just speaking about going into our next topic here about should games be valued at cost per hour? This kind of connects to the conversation with if you do play handheld, like the Nintendo Switch, you play those games like Animal Crossing. I've got probably like 300 hours in that thing by now, you know, and I paid full price for it at the time, which is 80-90 bucks what it was Australian, and I've gotten my worth out of it, but I still get the same value personally when I play Gears of War 5, when I just play through the campaign in a weekend. You know, I just life that campaign and just go along with the ride, not even touching multiplayer or anything. And I feel like I still have my value preserved for the same cost. So why I'm talking about this now is, I should just swap that over first. So unprofessional today, Chunt. Why I'm talking about this now is the Medium came out. It released on Friday, the 29th. Pretty sure this Chewy is fucking up my tongue. Pretty sure that a lot of people are saying these days when they're playing games, and a few reviewers that I watched of that game who reviewed the Medium made the same comment of a cost per hour relevance to the game. Like, it's not an overly long game, and you might not get what you're worth out of it. And it's disappointing we're in the state that a cost per hour equates to a quality of a game. I've played a few hours of that game now, and I am on edge. I've said a number of times, I'm a sook when it comes to horror games. I really am. And I've got my worth out of it. Fair enough, I'm playing it via Game Pass, but Game Pass itself opens the door for the other conversation of what a game is worth when you're only paying $15 a month for a subscription to play these games day one, which I am. Like, I'm playing Cyborg Shadow, which is a 2D like NES style action platformer, which is effing hard, by the way, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. But I would have bought that. I had it in my wish list, and until I realized it was coming to Game Pass, and I was like, oh shit. But I'm going to keep it in my wish list because I know it's not going to be there forever, and I want to keep it. I want to have a copy, so when it does leave, I'll use the 20% discount via Game Pass and I'll buy it. But by then I would have got well my worth out of it. Game Pass, I've gotten an insane amount of value from that because I've played so many games via Game Pass that I haven't bought, and I've saved so much money. But if that wasn't around, I still would have paid for them. So I'm trying to think of it in that way of like, all right, if I'm paying for this game, how do I feel about this? And so far with the Medium, I disagree with those people that are saying you might not get your worth of money through it, being it's only like 10 or 12 hours. I strongly disagree with that mindset. I really do. Like, I long for the quality linear experiences that we used to have, you know, that we could do in a couple of sessions every weekend. I'm thinking like, you know, the Gears of War games or the God of War games, just from my own experiences, top of the head. You know, you could play through the campaigns, like Halo games, you know, almost any game that you played from the 360 PS3 era and previous, you can include those here because none of them are free to play games. None of them are games as a service. None of them are online only games, you know, that need you to grind and keep coming back every day for bonuses, and you know, you can't level up unless you've grinded for 5 hours and all that kind of crap. So I want to hope that this generation going forward changes that mindset, because last generation, I think, has screwed up expectations for so many people. I will not look back at this previous generation in a fond way at all. I really won't, because nothing really stood out to me and grabbed my excitement. Gears 5, granted, like that, I freaking loved the hell out of that campaign. That weekend is one moment I'll remember fondly for years to come. I had a very, very good time. But in previous generations, I had so many more experiences like that. Whereas this time around, there are so many games that are way too expansive, or they're just choked with water-thin 30 to 100-hour experiences or stories, or there's so much game in this game where I just end up not finishing them, or I avoid them all completely, because the thought of playing it is so daunting to me, of the time that it's going to ask from me, that I just don't end up playing it. That happened to Final Fantasy 15, and it was only late last year where I actually went back and finished it, where I was halfway through the game for 4 years or something. You know, so but by the end of that, I just smashed through the story points. I didn't do any side quests because it couldn't be asked, and I hate that. I understand and I appreciate why those options are there, but Assassin's Creed Origins is another example that I was insanely looking forward to that game, because Egypt was one of those games that I really wanted to play for Assassin's Creed. And when they finally were coming out, it was like, oh hot damn, this is one of the top 3 for me. You know, the other one's Japan, the other one's Valhalla, which I haven't got to yet. But I ended up stopping playing that because they level gate you from progressing through the story, where you are forced to grind out levels doing side missions or just random tasks before you can progress through the story. At that point, and besides the fact, when I did go to do one of the side quests, I ended up finding a shrine where the Final Fantasy 15 villain walks out and gives me, and I got some unlocked items for my camel to turn it into a chocobo, and I was just pulled right out of it. You know, I was like, all right, yep, this isn't Assassin's Creed Origins again, and Bayek, I don't know what you want to do with the rest of your life, but I'm not doing this, and I've yet to go back to it. I may one day, but I'm hoping that Valhalla isn't like that. I hope I can just go through the story, you know, play through the missions. You know, I understand if there's some other side missions that you can do that can benefit your main playthrough, that's different. But if I'm going to get stopped for the sake of padding, Gears 5 is guilty of that as well. Like the chapters 2 and 3 are just way too big, and a lot of these loading doors and riding the skiff through the sand and the snow to and fro to expand the time. I did enjoy it by myself, but I understand why others won't, and it does pad it out a lot. But I don't need that anymore. I don't want it going forward either. So we can still do the action-packed blockbusters and the critical darlings that everybody loves to play. You know, even some of the tried and true games like Halo campaigns, they've never been longer than 10 hours, 15 at max, and that's healthy. That's a good solid amount of time. You can do that in a weekend or throughout a week, for me anyway, a couple of hours a night, you know. And I want that experience back. I don't want to know that, all right, like Halo Infinite has me worried about that aspect, because I stand by my mandate. I prefer that kind of game. But Halo Infinite, if it's going to be, you know, a grinder game, you know, like a looter shooter type thing, or you know, I'm going to get level gated where in parts of the map that I can't get into, all that kind of stuff, it's not going to be Halo anymore. I understand it's going to be a new experience, but I don't want to be sitting there through a 100-hour Halo game because it's decided to pad itself out, because that's the current norm, which I just refuse to enjoy. I know plenty of other people disagree with me, where they're like, I like playing this one game forever, and that's fine, but I don't. I like having newer experiences, and I like having concise linear stories told to me. I like going through the massive set pieces that are, you know, pre-planned in the game. You know, they're pre-rendered, not pre-rendered, but you know, they're already pre-programmed big set pieces that you go along for the ride on. You know, like I like that. I like a not like a movie, but I like the experience of just going through that. And the whole point of Fortnite, for argument's sake, it's the biggest game in the game as far as I'm concerned, or Roblox, whatever. But Fortnite's a different beast altogether. It's specifically made to be just a multiplayer shooter game. Fair enough. But a lot of games have started to take that on, like Destiny. Destiny existed in a popular manner before I think Fortnite hit it big. At least in my circles, in my reality, at least I was more familiar with Destiny's how would you call it, pedigree before anything to do with Fortnite. That really was on my radar. But Destiny does it as well. Like, but I think they do it in a good way, where even I tend to go back, but I only go back when I'm playing with Jamie. So, you know, online it's just a good thing, you know, catch up game for us. But anyway, I tried playing it on my own a few times just for the story stuff. Whenever they release a campaign pack, I'll play through that. But even still, I do get gated out. And I know that I understand that's the gameplay, that's the loop that it has. But I don't want to sit there and grind for hours just so I can see the next part of this story. Fair enough if you're doing side missions or strikes or, you know, multiplayer Crucible maps, all that kind of stuff, fine. But, you know, the casual people like me, just let me go through the story. Anyway, I'm just interested in having this conversation because a lot of studios have closed last generation, sorry. A lot of studios closed, or they were shut down, or they were merged into other ones because they tried to make a games as a service game and release it, and either it failed the launch week and it didn't find fans and it just died in the water, or it just pitted out over time till no one's playing it. Avengers is a perfect example of a studio that's never made a game like that before but realizes it's the hot thing to do, so they've taken a massive brand that shouldn't fail, Avengers, made a story around it, which the story was okay, but the maps and the gameplay and the level design, all of it was lackluster and boring. You just kind of potter through the story campaign, and those maps that you did on the campaign are the ones that you can do repeatedly through the multiplayer stuff, or to grind out after the story is done. So essentially you've played the whole game by the time you reach the end, you know, and there's no end game stuff. Just forget it. And they haven't even recouped their production budget yet. And we're almost 6 months later, or you know, before we end up talking about Avengers again, it'll be another year. So that game, I don't know how that's going to come back. I really don't. If you haven't made your production budget back, how are you supposed to finance the rest of the free DLC content that you promoted? You know, expansions, maybe you can charge for those, but for a game that nobody's playing, it's still $99 on the Xbox store. I refuse to pay that. If it comes down to $15, I played it on PC, by the way. If it comes down to $10 maybe, I might pick it up on sale. Anthem has the same problem. No one's playing that. It's still $99 on Xbox. Every now and then it's $10. I still have the disc, thankfully enough. So if they do end up, you know, relaunching that game, at least I'll have a disc to play it on. But Anthem is another example. That was a massively popular failure. You know, it has such promise in it, and it feels like it was supposed to be a different game. But then it went the Destiny route, games of service. You know, Division is still happening. It's still out there and big. That's a success story, much like Destiny is. But there's only so much time in everybody's day. Like you can't have like 20 games of service games and expect them all to succeed. You know, you just can't. One group of people are going to go, oh, let's play the hot thing for a while, and then let's go back to whatever we were playing and disperse. Oh, another one, and the same thing. Well, they might go back to the other one that they enjoyed, and none of them are going to stick on the same one forever. That's an expectation that we can't have. Where this is why I'm saying I think we need to go back, and I'm very hopeful that we can go back to the more linear experience again. You know, 10, 20 hours around that bracket. Tell us a story concisely. You know, you can well build within that time successfully. Been doing it for years prior. Goddamn. Instead of these games being abandoned entirely when they fail. So it's enough of my rant on that, but that's what I hope the world goes forward with in the gaming industry. Game Pass, I think, is going to be a factor in that. With the Medium, I do remember hearing conversations that the Medium developers said, quote me if I'm wrong, that they did have some kind of hesitation or getting it published because it was a risky game for some reason. Like that horror aspect, that horror games or atmospheric, like Silent Hill type games. But unless you're Resident Evil, they kind of, wax and wane as far as success goes. So coming through on Game Pass, they just were able to forget about that altogether because there's an install base already there, which is why there's a lot of success stories on Game Pass where you can have these bite-sized games or a good chunk linear game, and you can still have your games and service games if you really want them. Like Destiny 2 is a free-to-play game now, for example, and that's a big budget game that's been around for 10 years or something now. So there are ways around it, and if Game Pass is the way that these games that I remember playing can come back and have more new experiences like that. And I disagree with the other argument that people say, oh, these single player games are one and done. They aren't, because I still own some on my back shelf over there. And I've rebought some over the years because I miss playing them. So I've bought them again so I can play them through. We're on the 360 era and the original Xbox era. Now I've replayed these games several times. That's just me, of course. Like, I understand a lot of people have their own preferences, but that's mine, and I hope we do go back to that. I really very much do. But I know we're coming up on the 40-minute mark at the moment, and that was a pretty chunky topic, but something I want to talk about. It just triggered me a bit with these reviewers where you've got a new game. I don't see it happen a lot when PlayStation releases a game. Not to go there, but when a PlayStation game releases that it's a linear story experience, that conversation never comes up. But when Xbox puts one out, I don't know if it's worth your money, or if you can only play through it once, so I don't know if it's worth much. That kind of irks me a bit. Really, really does. I promised myself I wasn't going to go there, but fuck it, whatever. So yeah, that's the end of that. The final topic, which is a more fluffy topic, and then we'll go into the Ask Chunt question. Okay, so a few days ago, we had a big moment, or at least for me, something I've supported for a few years now. That's finally happening. For those of you who aren't aware, or have never seen anything that I post or anything, there's a Justice League movie coming out this year. Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of that, or if I've mentioned it at all. Look at this. So these are just some cropped posters that Zack Snyder put out last couple of days, and that's it. Notice how none of the actors are on them. You've got one that's a play on the Snyder Cut with the film tin and the reel, and one of the frames in there are all the members standing together. You'll have to zoom in real quick if you can find it online and check that out. The other one is a play on the Death of Superman cover, where Superman's cape is hung on a flagpole after he's defeated by Doomsday. So you've got the play on that, where Dan Jurgens, the artist, retweeted it going, he's honoured to see that, which is a very, very cool thing. And the other one is just the logo in Rubbles, or emerging from. Take of that which you will. But the 18th of March is when it comes out on HBO Max streaming, and there's yet to be confirmed any dates or any services that are picking it up in Australia. So they did announce and release their international streaming options. So for those of you who are out of Australia that might watch my content or this, you've probably got a way to do it through HBO Max in those areas. There's talk and rumours and mumbling online that Binge, which is owned by Foxtel here in Australia, might be the one because it has the rights to HBO content in our country. So there is that. It might come to that. If it does, then I'll sign the hell up. Otherwise, I'm going to have to sail the high seas, man. As much as I hate doing that, as I get older, I'm different to other people where I like to pay for my content because I don't want to pirate stuff because I'm a bit of an artist myself, and I hate when I see other people's art taken. I understand the frustration where you live in countries like mine where I want to give you my money but you won't let me. There are other ways to get these things via VPN or somewhere else. So I'm going to have to explore one of those options if Australia doesn't get it. Otherwise, I'm just going to hold out for the Blu-ray release. If it ever comes out. Who knows? I do hope it does. I want my home version of this. Like, you do see Netflix releasing home content, like their own shows and movies through DVD and Blu-ray. So it's not out of the realm of impossibility. So I do hope that's the thing. But the thing that I really wanted to bring up this for was not only are the posters awesome, but they're just black and white. No actors' names, no faces, no logos besides HBO Max. And it's just like a bold statement. But how far have we come? Where, yeah, I'm not going to run through the whole Justice League, Joss Whedon thing and Zack Snyder. I'm not going to do all that. It's so tried and true. It's out there. There's other videos that you can watch. I'm not going to spend another 20 minutes on it. But it's a bold statement as a fuck you, basically. After all these years, bam, you know, this is happening. Screw everything. And particularly that film reel poster of the Snyder cut. It's got his name on it in red in the 300 font. You know, like it's such a bold poster, you know. I want these. I really do. If I had a cinema room at home, I would get all three and hang them all. I can't wait for this film. 4 hours. I'll take the day off if I have to. I'll put in some annual leave. Sorry, boss. Justice League's out. I need the day. Oh, yeah. No worries, Chris. No, knock yourself out. You know, that's exactly how it's going to happen. So the other reason I wanted to talk about this is Warner Brothers Pictures was the only entity officially connected to this project that did not share it. And why is that important? Because it's Warner Brothers Pictures. You know, I'll just show you for argument's sake. Here, when it loads, this is the Warner Brothers Pictures Twitter feed, right? Here's the last few days worth of content. And this is around the time when all these things are coming out. There's no Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. Now, Warner Brothers didn't want this movie to come out. The executives at Warner Brothers Pictures didn't want this movie happening in the first place. They wanted it to die. They kept putting out news articles to the trades saying, you know, we never wanted this to happen, basically, and they hope it goes away. You know, they were poo-pooing it for years. Walter Hamada and all that team, they didn't want it. Toby Emmerich didn't want it, but now it's happening. He got bought by a bigger studio, a bigger company, a bigger thing, a bigger entity called AT&T, and it goes AT&T, Warner Media, Warner Pictures, you know, and then DC somewhere in there somewhere. So Warner Brothers Pictures, salty little bastards, didn't share a thing. Here's Warner Media. There it is. January 30th, Warner Media. You can see the HBO Max Twitter feed sharing it as well. Warner Media retweeting Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's other poster there. You know, they're all on board, right? DC. They're fans. They support this thing. It's finally happening, they say. You know, that's so great to say. How will you honor this momentous day? Like, it's just a big up yours to Warner Pictures, you know, like everyone else in your team is celebrating this thing but you bastards. So here's the HBO Max. Premieres March 18th. Oh my god, I can't believe it's actually finally happening. And then Zack Snyder himself, it all happened. Oh no, this is the actual Zack Snyder's Justice League Twitter feed, which, fun fact, this was made initially by a fan. And when this started happening officially, they contacted them saying, hey, can we work something out to use this account? And he just said, yeah, just have it. You know, just handed it over. I don't know the finer points behind that, but now this is run and managed by HBO Max's team. And, you know, they're retweeting all the stuff and DC stuff. You know, they retweeted everything so far to do with this project. Everyone but Warner Brothers Pictures. Like, how salty do you have to be, man? This is why I wanted to talk about it today, because this is the out of field, like, behind the scenes kind of baseball talk kind of crap that, you know, to use that as a reference, I don't know if I use that correctly, but that people don't see. well, they don't know about because they don't look into it because obviously they're not interested in that side of things. Some people don't even know this movie's coming out, or other people do, but they don't understand the points behind it as to why it's happening. So I like to talk about it when you get funny little nuggets like this coming up that you notice, and it's so obvious. You know, when you start going through the feed. I remember that day. I was like, oh look, there's DC, there's Zack, there's there's Warner Media, there's AT&T, and their Snyder Cut Twitter account. They're all responding to fans, and all those accounts are responding to each other, and it's all great to see. And I was like, where's Warner Brothers Pictures? What's going on here? Maybe I just don't follow them for some reason, or yeah. So I went to their account and I was like, oh hot damn, they're not doing anything with it. Just very petty, man. Like just really, really petty. The optics on that as a fan, obviously no one else gives a shit, but I do. That kind of stuff. It's pretty funny. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up just shortly. And just to finally run this off with the final question. I know we're running a bit long today, but I've had a lot to talk about. Far out. I've introduced a new thing for some viewer interaction. Something I used to do. And it's just difficult getting questions because I know people are busy. I've got a bunch. I've got one a week, so I've got a OneNote prepared with some future questions that people have kindly submitted to me, whether responding to me on Twitter or DMing me when I've asked for them. So thank you very much for those of you who have submitted. You are banked and ready to go. The first one, God, did I even put it in here? It's something to do with Transformers. Oh, there it is. Let me just put it up. So unprofessional today. Ask Chunt. So people that aren't aware, there's a massive Transformer coming out March 18th as well. Oh, is it? Shit. I can't remember the date. I know it's March, and I know it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. But man, it's going to be a good week. Justice League and Unicron in the same week. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll bring up pictures of what Unicron is for those of you who are totally unaware and uninitiated. But he asks, Rangatology, hopefully I said that right. You know who you are. How are you going to display your Unicron when you get it? Robots or planet mode? Right, that is a very good question. I don't know yet. Basically, I'll just put it up. This is what Unicron is. Just a base example, right? Might look, you probably don't have scale for that, but it looks epic and amazing. For those of you who don't know who Unicron is, back in the 1984 movie, I think it was 1986, I think 86. Sorry, Transformers started in 84. 86 movie. Unicron was the main villain for that film. A giant planet-sized transformer that just devours other planets. Right? Been a fan favorite thing. There's never been a real official Unicron, if you discount the Armada series Unicron, which I almost picked up, by the way. If I didn't pre-order this or if I missed out, this was a fan-produced, fan-backed project from Hasbro. It wasn't going to happen otherwise because it was too big of a project to put on a retail. Okay, so now we have to pay a premium to get it sent to us directly. Anyway, we're lucky we're getting it. I can't wait. But yeah, I almost got the Armada Unicron, which is a hell of a lot smaller and a tenth of the price now on the resellers, secondhand market. And I would have been fine with that. It just wouldn't have been as big as imposing, and it wouldn't fit with my War for Cybertron collection that I've got going on. In saying that, just to show you what it looks like. So these are real people next to and nearby this, in both forms, in planet mode and in robot mode. Man, like, it's massive. I think the planet mode with the rings, it's like 32 inches or something in diameter, I think. I'm pretty sure. And that's massive. I don't know. I've got a spot over there which has like my half-built, torn apart old PC that I haven't figured out what to do with. So there's no room on the shelf behind me, and this desk I have next to me that has all my other Transformers that has just been a placeholder dumping ground. It's just a spare desk that I had. I've just been dumping them there. There's no room. Literally, there's no room for any more. Like, they're just lying around everywhere. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it in, depending on where I do put it, I think having it in robot mode will be more of a presence when you walk into a room. Like, you can pose it and stuff. It's just in a standard static pose there, but you can pose it and stretch out the wings and all that kind of stuff. So I think I might have to just end up doing that somewhere, and it'll look epic, even if I have to make room on the shelf behind me so it's actually on camera so I can get use out of it. Yeah, just to have it sitting there in a pose, all splayed out and epic looking, I think that'll be the right way to go. And for scale, that's how big it is with a Voyager class Siege Optimus Prime, which I have here. And this is it next to my head. So it's not even, you can see it's not even as up to its knee. So it's a big boy, putting it politely. Yeah, I can't wait for this thing, man. It's just one of those things where you're like, when they announced it, when Hasbro were like, all right, we're doing a Unicron, but we have to do it through this fan-backed, fan-funded method, get on board or miss out. And I had just moved homes or something. I think I was in the middle of moving, or it's just finished moving, and I was pretty strapped, man. I was pretty strapped. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can justify it. Like, at the time, EB Games weren't doing pre-orders for this, but I think they just caught wind of it and put it up. And thankfully, they were only asking for $100 pre-order down deposit. So I was like, oh, damn, I jumped on that like the last day when I found out. I was umming and ahhing about it for ages, and when EB were like, yep, deposit $100, like most of their pre-orders that are over $100, jumped on that straight away, and I almost missed out on it because it was gone the next day. But I already got my order confirmation and everything, and I have since spoken to EB as of within the last couple of weeks, just coming up to it, asking them, there's a release date now of March 18th or whatever it is now. What are the payment options? Because it is a very, very expensive thing, and yeah, I don't particularly want to part with that much money all at once. So, but yeah, they do offer a payment plan, so an option to pay it. So I'm glad about that. I'm not going to miss out, which is fantastic. So yeah, look, this is going to be the crown jewel of my Transformers collection that I just randomly jumped on the last couple of years. I haven't got nuts on it, for me anyway. Well, compared to other collectors out there, mine's like a pittance, but to me it's pretty huge. I've got a lot over there, and it's been the one thing keeping me sane, having something to look forward to the last couple of years. Yeah, so I just need to get a proper display for it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I did go a bit in depth in how I'd be doing that and why. So I do thank you for asking the question and leaving that for me. So thank you very much. There'll be another one next week. I don't know which one that's going to be, but I thought I'd put them in order of submission, but I think I'll just jumble them. I've got a randomizer, so I think I'll just jumble them as I get them, and who knows what it's going to be. But I've made sure that I did ask to keep it general, because current event questions might not happen, as you please. So if you do want to ask anything, you can do that either in the comment section below, or I'll be putting out something on Twitter when it comes closer to the next weekend. So, all right, let's round up some more questions, and so I can bank them. So if you do have something that I can eventually get to, just comment or send them to me on Twitter or whatever, and let me know. That would be fabulous, and we can do something like this next time. Anywho, we're running a minute 60 seconds, 67 seconds left. Wait, no, 57. What the hell? I'm hungry. I need dinner. So let's just wrap this one up. I'll leave Unicron there, posing as he does with his big dick energy, and I'll see you next weekend. And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows, man? And like I said last week, in the meantime, Tulula 1, may the power protect you, and Bumblebee Tuna. Toodaloos all, have fun, be safe, and all that shit.
Like, comment, subscribe.